While investing in renewable energy may seem like a no-brainer decision on the surface, the benefits and drawbacks to these investments make the issue a very complicated one. According to the CEO of Sustainable Capital Advisors, renewable energy investments have enjoyed increasing popularity in recent years, in part because finance professionals overall have developed a stronger understanding of the sector. However, investors may be faced with institutional barriers to entry to investing in such projects. There is also the issue of finding factual and unbiased information about these investments in the time of growing misinformation from a variety of sources. I'm now joined by Brendan Caldwell, director at Caldwell Securities Ltd, to discuss the pros and cons of investing in renewable energy. Welcome back, Brendan.
Thank you. I'm worried that my opinion, which may be somewhat different than the norm, may be construed as misinformation, but we'll see how we go.
Now, why is renewable energy investment becoming more significant in today's business landscape?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons. I think there's a general overall concern in the world about how traditionally we've generated energy, most of which has come from nuclear, hydroelectric, or the burning of fossil fuels. And it's the latter that I think people and governments are really trying to cut down on. So what are the alternatives? They're not making any more rivers, so there's only so much hydroelectric that can be built. Nuclear is one that was people loved to hate back in the 70s and 80s because of some fairly high-profile disasters, both here in North America, 3 Mile Island, and even worse in Ukraine, Chernobyl. So people are a little hesitant about nuclear. So the last alternative really is these various renewable energy sources, solar, wind, and others. So it is, if not an inevitability, at least a strong consideration as to how we're going to get from the old way of generating energy to something new.
And what are the primary financial benefits of investing in renewable energy?
At this point, government subsidies, full stop, end of discussion. It doesn't make economic sense by and large right now. Doesn't mean it can't. My father has this wonderful expression, the second mouse gets the cheese. We, through Urbana Corporation, came into Canada's largest cooperatively owned ethanol plant a few years back, built in 2008, largely with the help of government subsidies. The Integrated Grain Processors Cooperative buys 11% of Ontario's corn crop and produces fuel-grade ethanol. This is renewable energy 1.0, when fossil fuels were seen as the enemy and there was no other real viable alternative. Making one's own carbon-based fuels, fuel-grade ethanol, was seen as a solution. Government's subsidy was very helpful. They lasted to 2016, but only now, over the last, say, 2 or 3 years, absent government subsidy, has this become a very successful enterprise. So I think what people are having a difficulty with is the government does subsidize these things, and there is a real danger with governments picking winners and losers. But if they're allowed to exist long enough, in the case of IGPC, it's been in business 16 years and 14 or 15 years before it became really profitable. It does take a while for a new industry to get going. So coming in early on, it's very likely to be a struggle before any industry, renewables included, becomes self-sustaining.
What are the main financial risks associated with investing in renewable energy?
Very high cost at present, and the landscape keeps changing, both the political landscape and the technological landscape. You can, say, have built a whole great series of windmills, but if something better comes along, there's a lot of, how does one say, time, effort, work, and sunk costs into building those windmills. So too with the ethanol plant, used my earlier example, awful lot of sunk costs. And it actually, ironically, took the de-emphasis and the de-investment in fossil fuels and even in ethanol to help make it profitable, because with the absence of new supply, the supply that exists becomes more valuable. So the risks are the political landscape could change. Something that was subsidized is no longer subsidized. That can either because new technology comes along or new government comes along, or the technology itself just moves past it. As I said, renewable fuels is like ethanol, fuel grade ethanol is renewable energy 1.0. Whether 2.0 or 3.0 is going to be any better remains to be seen, because at least with renewable fuels, with fuel grade ethanol, you are tapping into an existing infrastructure, gas pumps and everything that already exists. There's still so much more infrastructure that needs to be built that I think it'll be 10 or 15 years before electric cars are the norm rather than fossil fuel based ones.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Theresa.